Hi, my beautiful friends. How are y'all doing? I hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. I want to welcome you to my channel, Tropical Empress in Spirit. My name is Amanda. Today I wanted to talk to y'all about something that I thought would be important to talk about. It seems like I'm being guided to share this story with y'all. And I thought that I would share it, but also do a mini reading at the end for y'all. And why I'm sharing this you'll understand as, I tell the story, and, I'll explain along the way why I'm sharing it. So what I want to ask y'all is there a current situation right now where you're being faced with having to be strong, even in a time where you feel like you can't go on? Like, sometimes maybe you just want to give up. Like, you keep yelling at the universe, or even up at God, or a deity. If you worship a deity, you can't keep doing this. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're worn out. Well, I think we've all have faced those challenges, those obstacles at some point in our life where we were forced to be strong, even in the face of having fear, doubt, maybe even feeling hopeless, or even just struggling with, um, maybe some form of mental illness like depression. And you just, in those moments, you feel very hopeless, like you've lost your way, or, you don't know which path to take. It's like you come to that turning point, there's that fork in the road. You go left or you go right. Which way do you go? And you're just kind of like, what do you want me to do with this? I'm sure many of y'all can raise your hands to say that, yes, you have been there, and maybe you're going through it right now. I know a lot of people are going through a lot of rough things. Life's not easy. I never, ever said it would be easy. And I know, none of us were ever told life is going to be easy. But what I can assure you is it's worth it if you keep putting one foot in front of the other. And so I want to share with you, as I was being guided to share this with you, and where that guidance came from. I got it from my mama, because I've had a few people read for me recently, and one of the questions was pertaining to my mama. Like, what messages does she have for me that maybe I haven't heard yet, or, that I'm not getting from her myself. And a couple of the readers had told me that she keeps saying to sing and dance. Well, I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, my mama, she did, like to sing. Like, she would sing to me and my siblings in the car. But dancing wasn't one of those things I could ever say that I ever knew she did. Like, maybe if she went out with, her friends once in a great while, maybe they went and danced at the bar or something. But it wasn't something like she had a passion for that I knew she grew up doing, or anything like that. And I wasn't big into dancing myself. I mean, yeah, I could dance, but not like a great big passion of mine. So when I was told that, I was confused, because I'm like, dance? What? I don't understand what that means, I mean, yeah, to be happy and live life, but I felt like there was more to it than that. And so I kept asking her. I said, Mama, what does this mean? You gotta, tell me, what does this mean exactly? So, well, I had to wait, about a month or two for me to get that answer, but she finally came through loud and clear this morning and told me what exactly she meant by it. And I remember right after she died, I would hear this song at work on the jukebox playing. And it's called I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack. And that song always touched me in that way, because I always felt like that was my mama's telling me to keep going. Even though I didn't recognize it as that being specifically from her, but I always felt like it was a connection to her somehow. I always felt like that was her just telling me, to keep going, that, yeah, the grief I was going through, I was suffering with, it hurt, and it hurt like hell, but it wouldn't last forever, that I would get, at the end of it at some point. And though it took me many years to get through the raw depths of that grief, I did finally make it through it. And so when I was in the shower, that song played right in my head loud and clear. And I knew it was her. And then the light bulb went off. And I said, okay, all right, Mama, now I understand. I understand what you were trying to relate to them, to tell me to dance. You were telling me to keep going despite the odds, despite whatever obstacles, challenges, hardships I have faced in my life, or even maybe my own doubts about myself. Maybe I can't do this, or maybe it's not meant to happen. Or even, how some of us allow those people in our close circle, maybe it's, friends, family, it could even be at work, who are telling us that, no, you can't do this, or no, you're not going to make it, you might as well just give it up and, go do something else, you're no good at this, whatever that is. So, but for me, it was her just telling me to keep going. My mama was that type of person. She believed in all her kids. She had 4 of us. And she believed in, whatever it is we wanted to do with our lives. She would back us. She would support us. She was never the type of parent that would ever tell us that we couldn't or we can't. And it didn't matter what it was we wanted to do with our life, whether it was to, I still laugh because she told me I should go up to the strip club and be an exotic dancer because she thought I'd make a lot of money from it. It's like, no, Mom, I'm not going to do that. But, she was that free spirit type of woman, had an open mind, was very open with her kids about life in general. She didn't really hide things from us. She allowed us to do certain things that most parents wouldn't have allowed their, kids or teenagers to do especially. But she allowed me and my brother to do them. And some things, we got away with and we probably shouldn't have, but we did, So I was very lucky and blessed to have her as my mama. And she taught me a lot. And one of those things she taught me above all else, besides to have a good heart, to have, kindness, compassion, love, to always wish and want the best, not just for myself or for my close friends or family, but for strangers, to hold out my hand if I can offer my help and assistance. If I had it to give, or if I had the time to give to, give it, So, and whenever I think of her, I always think of her in the tarot as the strength card. This card always speaks loud and clear to me. When I look at her, I see her. And here's another one that reminds me of her. This one reminds me of her more than this one. But it's just the beauty in this card. And, I see in this strength card, I see my mama as the lion watching over me. I'm her here. But in this card, this is my mama to me, standing next to the lion. So I thought that I would share a story with y'all where I was forced to have to be strong in the face of uncertainty, in the face of hardships, in the face of even that doubt, that little, voice that's saying, no, you're not going to make it, or, whatever. And so many of y'all know that I recently built a house. And, I've been living in this house, about a month and a half roughly. But what y'all don't know is what came before buying this house. The struggle I had to go through to even make this happen. And understand me, this was not part of my plan. I had no intentions on ever having, to build a new house and to move from the home I had been living in for over 20 years, a home I loved. I loved it deeply. I loved the area. I loved the location. I loved the people that lived in the area. And most importantly, I loved the fact that I was so close to both my baby brother and his family, and then my stepdaughter and her family. I was within, a 30 to 45-minute drive going to either house. So, when I was forced to have to make a hard decision, I didn't want to make that decision. And that decision was I was put in a position I was forced to have to sell my home. And it all came about when my husband had went through and got laid off at work. And at the time, he had already invested, I think it was 34 and a half years of his life in this company. He started from the ground and worked his way up into higher level management to where he worked for the VP in operations. And he had 8 big managers that reported to him. So for him to lose his job, that was a punch in the gut. It was a punch in the gut for me because, I knew how good he was at his job. He knew how good he was at his job, but he stayed humbled about it. And he had the respect of all his peers and all the people who reported to him. They all looked up to him. Even his boss looked up to him. So, that was a time where I was just getting ready. There was 2 things on my list I was getting ready to do. First thing was I was going to start going in and having our bathroom redone because we ended up getting a crack in the floorboard of our shower. So the shower was unusable because if we used it, then the water would drip down and go down to the first level, and it would, sink through the roof, or not the roof, but the ceiling. And then the other part of my plan was I was going to start my own business, and particularly into real estate, because my goal in that was to start out in it and then open up my own business, and for that business to be a bridge to starting a foundation to where I can help those in most need, the ones that need a home, or the ones more specifically who want to be a homeowner themselves, but unfortunately can't go through the regular standard of going through the bank and all the policies that are in place that make it incredibly hard for many people to purchase a home today, not like it was 20 years ago. And so I wanted to create that. Well, obviously those 2 things went out the window. I kind of had to say, well, I can't do any remodeling on this house, nor can I go through and open up that business yet, even though I knew I couldn't open it up right away because I still had to go through and take the real estate courses and all that to start that way first, to go down that road, which is still part of my plan. I just got to sign up for those classes. So then, it was, okay, what to do now? At the time, I told my husband, I said, I felt like he had worked enough and for so long that he deserved a break. Because I understood at that point he had gone through and lost his identity when he lost his job. And so I gave him that space to grieve, to mourn losing his job, to get himself together, get some rest, and, put his feet up a little bit. Because the nice thing about it was, because he had invested so many years with the company, they gave him a severance. That was a thing about, it was 11 months long, I think it was. So it wasn't in a hurry for him to go out there and get another job yet. And so, I gave him that space. And, I stuck around, waiting, for him. I'd be there if he needed to talk or anything else. And, well, about 6 months after, it was a little over 6 months after he had been laid off, he still hadn't found a job yet. I don't even think at that point he was even looking. And, I was now getting worried because I saw him change. Like, I saw him fall into a deep depression to where he was someone I didn't recognize. He wasn't the man I married. Like, that person of strength who matched me in that way, I no longer was seeing in him. And it worried me. And I wasn't sure, what to do about it other than, talk to him and, without nagging him, to get him to open up or to even go seek help, go talk to a therapist or whatever to get him out of this rut, And of course, at first, my husband denied. He was like, I'm not depressed. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's like, yeah, you don't look fine. There's so many things that changed with him that told me he wasn't fine. To where all he did for those several months is sit on that couch in the living room and watch TV all day until the crack of dawn came up. So he wasn't fine. But he would argue about it with me, and I just said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get into this battle with you right now. I just know that something needs to change. Well, I think about a month or two after having that conversation, he ended up going through, in the middle of COVID, he fell in our dining room and pretty much broke his back, but I didn't know it at the time, nor did he. And it was like pretty much around midnight when this happened. And so I ran downstairs because I heard him when he fell, and I went to pick him up, and I then went through and said, okay, well, let me help walk you, get you up, or excuse me, he was in the foyer. Let me get you up and get you to the living room. And little old me never thought I'd be able to lift this man, because let me explain. My husband is 6'4.5", and at that point he weighed about 280 pounds. Okay, I'm like 5'3", and I weighed at that time about 106 pounds. But somehow, some way, I managed to get him up off the floor by myself and help walked him to the couch where he laid there, and I wanted to call the ambulance, but he wouldn't let me. He's like, no, I'll be fine. He just thought he threw his back out. Okay. Well, after a couple days went by, he wasn't really moving. Like, he hurt. And so it's like, okay, it's time for you to go to the hospital now, because no, you're not just going to lay on this couch and just, melt away. This isn't going to happen. Something else is wrong here. So we went ahead and called the hospital, or called the paramedics, asked them to come get him and take him to the hospital. Of course, I couldn't go because it's in the middle of the pandemic. They wouldn't allow visitors at the hospital. So I had to stay home and wait by the phone, worried to death, trying to find out what's going on with him, because I knew he was in excruciating pain from the fall. And the doctors called me and told me that he had bleeding that was pretty much almost on his spinal cord. It was that close. And that they needed to do emergency surgery to remove, the bleeding that was happening. Plus, he also broke a few of his vertebrae in his back. So I'm like, okay, well, he's there. He's in, good hands, get him through the surgery and everything be fine. Well, between the hospital and then they had to put him in a inpatient rehab facility. So between both the hospital and the inpatient rehab, to help him get his strength back, he was in the hospital a little over a month. And when he came home, he wasn't moving around, barely. And to the point that I had to have a portable toilet delivered to the house in a wheelchair to help him get around. So that way he can at least be in bed instead of having to get up and walk, 30 feet to the bathroom. He could at least, sit, get up and sit in the toilet and be fine, And whenever we left the house, I had to push him around in that wheelchair. I had to, pick up that wheelchair and put it in the back of my Camaro pulling it in and out of the car, and then turn around and push him around in it. Of course, most places they have a handicap ramp that goes uphill. So yeah, little old me is pushing this 280-pound man up these ramps for 3.5, 4 months. I did this to the point it almost broke my back in the process. And to where I told him, I said, I can't push you anymore. I said, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with my back now. I can't push you. I think I broke my back now. And in that point, that forced my husband to fight a little harder and get up, because he knew he couldn't rely on me to do it anymore, unless he wanted me, all crippled up alongside him, which I was pretty close. So I was thankful for that. And then, I realized at that point, the chances of him returning back to work anytime soon were very slim. And that's being optimistic. I'm saying slim because he still was barely making it around. Like, he had to use a walker, and he eventually moved to a cane, but even the walker, he used it around the house for several months after that. And so by the time he felt like he was good enough to go and, start really being serious about looking for a job, and he sent out his applications, he wasn't getting phone calls. Nobody was calling him. And then comes, I think it was May. No, it was following year. Or no, it was later that year. It was August. He almost died. I found out he was diabetic. We didn't know. And I understood the seriousness of everything. Like, the whole writing was on the wall. I realized then, because when he had broke his back, I think he already knew he probably wouldn't been able to go back to work either. So he had already reached out to file for his disability benefits through Social Security. And we were waiting for the Social Security office to approve his disability. Well, that can take up to a year. And we didn't have a year. Because at that point, his unemployment or his severance pay had already ran out. And then what he had in his 401k, most of it was gone, and I couldn't go back to work yet, because the other thing that was up against me was I still needed rotator cuff repair surgery in order to go back and do what, I'd done for years before I met him, which is wait tables. And I couldn't bowl or shoot pool either, which would have been another way for me to go back and make some money when I needed the extra money. I couldn't do that either because I didn't have to strengthen my arm to do either or. So I felt like my back was up against the wall, and I hated it. Was there a lot of stress and worry? Of course. What are we going to do now? How are we going to make this? I still need a surgery, but I don't have the money to even pay for surgery right now. So how exactly is this all going to work? So instead of panicking, I had to really take a step back and look at everything. And I come to realize that as much as I hated it, as much as I didn't want to do it, I knew the only option at that point was we were probably going to have to list our house on the market and sell it. And to me, yeah, I could have stayed in that house, but that would have meant I would have put us in unbearable financial situation, and I wasn't going to do that. And I also understood that, yeah, we still needed a roof over our head, but to stay in that house, we no longer could do, especially with the fact that his disability hadn't been approved yet, and we still didn't know exactly when it would be approved, if it would even be approved. So we needed to figure something else out. And so despite all the stress, the worry, all those things I was faced with, I just sat there. I just had a feeling that it was going to be okay. You know, that the universe had my back in this, and that there was something good that was supposed to come out of this. And of course, I didn't know exactly what that was, but I felt like something better was supposed to come out of this. And I just had to have faith, you know. And so it took me a few months of arguing with my husband back and forth about selling the house because he didn't want to do it. And I understood that. I understood. I didn't want to do it. But we were up against the wall. There was nothing else we could do. You know, even if his disability had approved at that point, we still didn't have enough money to give me the opportunity to go in and have my shoulder fixed like I needed to have it fixed badly, or to pay the other, you know, expenses we had. It was just, there was just no way. It was an impossible situation. And I surely was going to allow the bank to take my home from us. I wasn't going to allow that to happen. But I also knew I couldn't just put that house on the market by myself. Even though the house is in my name, it was also in my husband's name too. So it needed both of us to approve listing it on the market. And, you know, you think of that, it's like, in this market right now, the way the economy is, you know, how good could this be? How good could the outcome be? I didn't know, but I couldn't worry about that. I had a hope for the best. And between arguing with my husband, talking him into this, and getting him to finally open his eyes and realize this, and I think it finally came when he ended up in the hospital and he almost died, that he finally understood, you know, that, yeah, we had no other options. And so, you know, I called our family and I told them the situation, you know, the situation we were put in. And because of, you know, my husband not being able to find a job yet, and then with his fall, and then the diabetes coming about, you know, we were just in an impossible situation because the disability hadn't been approved yet. I said, so we were looking at having to list the house on the market. And naturally, you know, the family was, you know, worried. They had hope we wouldn't have to do that, that there would be another way out of this. And, you know, and I told him, I said, I understand that. I do. I wish there's another way. I said, but I know this is going to sound crazy. I said, but even though we're being faced with this right now, I feel like there's something better that's supposed to come out of this. I don't know what exactly that is yet. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's what my intuition, what the universe is telling me. It's going to be okay. So try not to worry. You know, we'll figure this out and, you know, let you know what happens. So, it was about a month or two later when I knew the writing was on the wall, and I finally got my husband to agree to do this, to, you know, list the house out. I had called, you know, my family, let them know, and told them, you know, that we were going ahead with this. And the thing about it was, it's not like I threw my hands up in the air and gave up. Like, it's not like I didn't go through and try another way to buy us some time. Because I did go to our bank and get a loan to buy us some extra time in the hopes his disability would come through and to help us to lessen the pain so I could have the surgery and so on, you know. But, you know, the money ran out and his disability still hadn't been approved yet. So we had no choice but to go ahead with selling the house. And so, you know, my family's like, you know, well, I'm just hoping, you know, that it all works out and it happens the way you want it to. And that, you know, it goes in your favor because, you know, the way things are right now, you know, look at what it's going to cost to rent a house or this or that. It's like, yes, I understand you. I hear you. Okay. I've considered all those scenarios. I said, but depending on how this comes out, I mean, I'm not looking to go rent another house. I'm not looking to rent a house, okay? I've owned my house for over 20 years. No, I'm going to use this money, what from the sale of the house, whatever we get, to purchase another house. That's the plan. And by then, I can only hope that his disability gets approved. That's the best I can hope for. And so I can have the surgery done on my shoulder so I can return back to work to help, us. And also I had already plans on going back to work anyways because I wanted to start this business. I want to start this venture. So, they're like, well, we're, praying for y'all and we're hoping it works out. And I thanked them and everything. And I told them, I'll let you know, once I get in touch with my friend who's a real estate agent, him and his wife, and I'll let you know what happened. So, in less than 3 weeks, once my house was listed, it sold. I was amazed. I was thanking my lucky stars, but I was amazed that it sold so quickly because I honestly thought it would sit on the market for a couple months because of the economy. I understood the economy wasn't the best time to, buy or sell a home, but, given the situation we were in, we had no choice. And it sold for top dollar for pretty much what, we were asking for and what, our real estate agent had, listed it for. And that amazed me more, so I called my family, and I let them know, the house had sold. And naturally, they said congratulations, but I could tell they were, sad too, because it was really happening. Now, it's done now. And they felt like their prayers weren't answered. And, and I had to remind them, I said, listen, I know you feel like, you pray to God. I know you feel like your prayers weren't answered. I said, but let me tell you something. They were answered. They just weren't answered in the way you had hoped they would be. I said, but here's what I want you to think about. I said, I want you to think about if we were meant to stay in this house, God would have paved the way for that to happen. He would have made it happen. He would have made it easy for us to be able to stay here. But he didn't. I said, instead, he made it so easy for our house to get sold and for us to get enough money so we can not only be able to go through and have my surgery and get us on our feet, but also to buy another home. And so, to me, that was God answering y'all's prayer, so, yeah, am I sad about it? Yeah, naturally I am, and I had to spend some time mourning it, and sitting there packing, and I did, I packed, probably over 1/3 of that house by myself, and it wore me out. And, but I was thankful it sold as quickly as it did, and it sold for what, only we could have hoped it had sold for. And at that point, one of our family members offered to give us their home to stay in that's on their property to live in to help us get on our feet until we get situated and figure out what our next move's going to be. Because at that point, our destination was unknown. Didn't know exactly where we're going to go next. Other than, we're going to have to figure it out. And so we were lucky and blessed in that way too. That, we had family that could help us in that way. And to allow us to kind of get our bearings back in order and work in and get resituated and figure out what our next move was. And then came, I had no plans on building a house. None. I didn't even think it was going to even be a possibility because the way I was looking at it was the house that I'm looking at buying is, going to be a lot cheaper than, what, I was looking to spend on a house. And I just didn't think, what a new house being built, what it cost. No, I didn't have that kind of money to be able to do that. So, but luckily, the universe was helping us once again, because my husband and I have been on Zillow and some of the other, websites, looking at houses that were listed and everything. And we came across a listing for a new subdivision that was being developed. It was like in its first stages of it. In fact, I think there was only like one or two houses that were like in the middle of being built. So it was a brand new neighborhood just starting out. And it was at a price that was pretty much what I was looking for to buy a new house with. So it was in that right market, as far as price. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to move that far away from my family, because yeah, it's only a little over an hour, but a little over an hour, when I'm used to being, within their house within, 45 minutes. It's like, I don't know if I want to be that far away from them like that. But long story short, we went ahead with it, and so now we have our new house. So I think my mama wanted me to share this with y'all, because I think for many of us, we're going through so much, whether that's, financially, or maybe it's even our health, or it can even just be, getting out of a relationship. We had spent, years with someone, and, we're trying to figure out what our next move is, and how to pick ourselves up, and to have that kind of strength to face it head on, and to go forward, to move forward with our lives, and come out of it doing the best we can, making the best decisions we can make for ourselves. So to me, this is, you know, my mama, pretty much, telling me, kind of reminded me of that. Like, I feel like I made the right decisions based on what I was faced with in that difficult time. But also, I think it's, the universe, it's, your loved ones too, who are wanting, the same, wanting to remind you that you have all that strength within you. If you just, look within. Sometimes it takes having to rip us out of our comfort level in order to see that we can go so much farther than we give ourselves credit for. That strength lies deep within. If only we just go deep within ourselves, seeking those answers. And if, we're spiritual and, believe in a God or anything like that, that they're behind us too. All we got to do is ask, because for me, I did ask God for his help. And I still had to trust and believe in the universe. As crazy as that may be to some people, just the thought of like, selling your house and not having a home to go to, or what's going to happen next, the stress, the worry, the uncertainty of what's going to happen next. I know that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around, and I get that too. And I'm not saying it was easy for me. I'm not saying, that I wasn't stressed out through it all, because I was. But, not to toot my own horn, I remember even my family telling me that they were amazed at how well I handled it. That, because if it was them, they would have been pulling their hair out, left and right, not sure what to do next, not panic. And it's like, I understand that. I said, but the choice for me was, I can either go through and ignore the writing on the wall, what I knew was coming, what was going to happen, whether I wanted it to or not, and just throw my hands up in the air and say, I give up, or I can fight. And fighting to me is the only option. I don't know no other way. I've never known no other way. So fighting was to come up with a game plan of how to see this through step by step. What would be our next step, and so on. And, thankfully, we had our house that we had the equity in to be able to, sell it and walk away with a profit to start over again. And I felt like even then, that was like me facing a tower moment. And, where our foundation was built on unsteady grounds, and this was the divine stepping in to take us out of that. And also, it was a new doorway to open me up to come to even here, to be on YouTube, to have this channel, to share these experiences with you, to share, my abilities, my psychic abilities, and the stories that come with it, and to also, dive deeper into, reading cards again, because I did give that up for a while. And so I think it was a doorway to open me up to so many more possibilities and potential that I did not see before that point. Because I even remember being in the old house, there was an energy in that house where the energy felt stagnant, like at a standstill. There was like nothing moving. The energy didn't feel right there anymore either. And I feel like that was the universe saying, because it's time to go. It's time to change locations and look ahead, because I think by staying in that house too, it kind of probably might have held us back in many ways that, we didn't see then. And I probably still wouldn't have saw if we had stayed there. And thankfully, my husband's disability did come through and it got approved. I think it was about 4 months after we sold the house. So, which gave, us the, extra income we needed. Plus, it also gave us the money to go through so I can have the rotator cuff surgery to help cover the expenses and to get us back on our feet and do all those things. So, I do think that, our loved ones, even though we may not feel like they're around, or, we may even doubt, are they there? I mean, are they even helping us? What can they do? I think, we doubt those times that they are stepping up and helping us. And, we may not see it as it being from them or even from the divine or source, whatever name you want to give, the creator, God, or, deity, whatever name you want to give. They're always behind you. But I also know there's some things in this life we're meant to go through, even though I know it sucks and I know it's hard. And I know you just like, like, God, how much more can I take? How much more you can give to me? I think we've all gone through that at some point in our life. So I just want to remind y'all that you are strong enough, in the face of whether, it's a hardship, whatever that hardship is. Maybe you're, not getting along with people at work, or maybe even in your own family, or you facing some kind of struggle where maybe you don't feel like you're being heard, or maybe, you're having those doubts about yourself. And so now you got to face and be the lion and this woman, just like my mom in this card, standing side by side and face it head on, have that courage to take one step and put it in front of the other. That's what I think, we all should do, but we don't give ourselves enough credit for it, or pat ourselves on the back that you made it this far, because you made it despite what you faced. You're here today, and everything may not be exactly the way you want it, but it's better than, not being here at all, or at least for me. I think that we all, find ourselves even, fixing ourselves in the mirror, like, I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, whatever that is. And you need to put those doubts away and remind yourself you are good enough. You are strong enough. And for those who, doubt you, hey, tell them go fly a kite, to put it nicely. That's what I say. So beautiful people, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put these 2 strength cards, because I had this other strength card out, which is just from the regular Rider-Waite Tarot. And I'm going to shuffle these decks, and then I'm going to pull out the card that's in front of and that's behind the strength card. And I'm going to read those cards, as I'm going to ask the deck to go through and show me what it is that y'all can do right now to face your time, whatever that is in your face, in your life, what, you have to be strong about. So, and then I'm going to pull a card from one of these other oracle decks that I have, since we are in the Leo season, and the 8/8 portal is in a couple of days. And see what portal that is that wants to open up for y'all, because the 8/8 portal is about manifestations. So what is it in your life that you want to manifest? What are those dreams or those hopes, those goals that you have for your life, for yourself? All right, beautiful people. So it's going to take me a minute to shuffle this, and then I'm going to have to spend time trying to find these cards real quick and turn them over for y'all. All right. This might take a while. And yeah, of course I would. Drop the card on the floor. It's not what I needed. I need to get a new chair because, or I at least need to get one of those lumbar support pillows, because I have a bad back from a wreck I had many years ago, and I had to have back surgery to fix it. So, alright, where are you, straight card? So I gotta force myself to sit up straight. And sometimes I find myself, if I lean over this desk, I end up hunching over, which is bad for your back. So sometimes I find myself, I end up having to sit as straight up as I possibly can and shuffle this deck in my lap instead, just so I can force myself to sit up straight more. Did I pass it up? Nope. Alright. There it is. Alright. I was about to say, where did it go? I thought I passed it up. Alright. Now let me do this. No spirit, we're not doing that today. Okay. Find these cards. Well, I thought this was a good idea until I gotta go through and search for it. You're kidding, y'all. Okay. Cancel that card. Oh, creepy baby. Yeah, I can't chill this card. It's got naked people on it. And I wish I pulled out another deck so I could show this to y'all. Alright. Okay, the first card I got here is the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles is that card of partnerships. You know, it could be work related. It could be in, you know, your personal life. It can be in, you know, maybe like a project, like working on your house as an example. Or at work. So I see that there must be something you're struggling with to work with someone alongside them. And you're kind of at odds. And the reason why I say that is because the next card I get is the Judgment card. And so I feel like you have to make this decision of which path to go, which road to go down, you know, how to go through either A, B, or maybe even have C. And Spirit saying to me that they're guiding you through it, you know, just like how you see this angel is right here in the Judgment. And they're looking up at the angel. So it's up to you to decide what it is you want to do and where it's going to come from, because I feel like this can even involve possibly a romantic relationship, but it doesn't have to be. And I only say that is because the Lover's card came out, and the Lover's card is about those relationships, whether that's romantically, it could be a, you know, a friendship, it could be a work colleague, it can be even a family member. So wherever that is, like I feel like there's like some turmoil in this is what I'm picking up on just by this Judgment card. Like you're being forced to make a hard decision. And that in this decision, you're not sure, you know, the one that's you're considering making right now, if it's the right one. And I'm hearing, trust your intuition. Trust that gut. Whatever it is, because whatever you're facing, if it's a hardship, if it's just, you know, maybe being in turmoil, like I said, with a relationship you're having, romantic, you know, platonic, colleague, work colleague, or a family member, only you can know what that best decision is, where you have to face being strong and put on a brave face. You know, I don't see it being a bad thing here, because at the end of it, I see the Sun card. I see that you are going through and going to have a big celebration. I think you're going to find joy and satisfaction with that decision. You know, being, you know, making yourself face whatever it is you're having to be strong about right now. So I think it's all going to work out. I know you probably have your doubts about it. You know, is it the right decision, wrong decision, or which way to go? But you already have that answer. And that's what I heard Spirit just say. So, all right, beautiful people. Now I'm going to go through. I'm going to pull from this Oracle deck because, like I said, we're in the, approaching the 8/8 portal, which is a time of manifestations. So, I'm going to pull from this Oracle deck, which is the Gateway of Light activation. And then I'm going to read y'all what it says from the book because I don't know this deck that well yet. So, Memories of Atlantis. Ooh. I wonder if some of y'all feel like y'all are part of Atlantis. Which it says spiritual acceleration, progress, and technology. And so I'm going to pull it from the guidebook. I hate doing this, y'all. I apologize. But I want y'all to get all the information from this until I can go through and I get more bonded with this deck to understand it, to read it more intuitively like I like to do. Okay, Memories of Atlantis. Legend has it that Atlantis was an advanced civilization that existed thousands of years ago in the center of the Atlantic Ocean. Its people were highly evolved and had many spiritual gifts. They were telepathic, extremely psychic, and known for their ability to combine the laws of science and spirituality, develop technology, and create heaven on earth. But somewhere along the way, many of them stopped respecting their gifts and spiritual connection. Their disrespect for the earth and ocean caused a great cataclysm that brought their civilization to an end. So the Atlanteans, who had continued to live with spiritual integrity, had an awareness of what was to come and were able to achieve full ascension and move beyond the physical realm to that of light. They are now a congregation of evolved souls who, like angels and masters, work with those upon planet Earth who are following the ascension path in alignment with devotion and love. If this card comes up for you and has a strong energy or seems familiar, it's a good chance that you are a former Atlantean who didn't honor your spiritual connection then and are being given an opportunity to avoid making the same mistakes now. So it says to connect, visualize yourself cloaked in a beautiful deep blue energy and say, Atlantean Council of Light, thank you for supporting the evolution of my soul so that I can surmount the karmic imbalances of my previous incarnations. And the message behind it is, you are being transported through a gateway to connect with ancient Atlantis. Know that by drawing this card today, you are receiving blessings from the Atlantean Council of Light, who are dedicated to the evolution of the soul. You are becoming aware of your gifts, and this is an exciting time, but also a time when the energies of your ego can become loud and obnoxious. Know that this gateway is appearing to remind you to stay aligned with the highest good and rooted in the energies of devotion. Then there can be a great coming together of the human and spiritual, and you can live in a more evolved way. So I don't know if some of y'all are even looking at, maybe you're facing criticism from people in your life, in your close circle, when you're wanting to dive deeper into your spirituality, or, open up that doorway to your psychic gifts, or maybe even read cards. I think all of us out here who, are psychic or read, tarot and oracle cards, or Lenormand or Kipper, or use any other kind of divination tool, we all have faced that. I know I have faced it many times. I did have a supportive family, specifically my maternal grandmother. But even when I had that support system from her, I doubted myself. I doubted my abilities. I doubted and felt like in order for me to admit to myself that I'm psychic and I have this awareness, being attuned, being clairvoyant, telepath, empath, clairsentient, clairalliance, precognition, and I'm missing one or two more. I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyways, all those abilities I have, that I possess, they didn't come all to me all at once. It was a gradual thing that started with the clairvoyance. Oh, clairaudience is another one I meant to mention. The clairvoyance is the one that started, and then it opened the door up to the clairaudience. Then it opened the door up to the precognition, to the telepathy, to the empath. And I also was aware I was clairsentient back with the clairvoyance too, but I didn't understand that that's what it was yet. And then the clairalliance, which is the ability to smell. It all came, as a gradual. And it gave me the ability to be more attuned with it, to understand it, to appreciate everything about it, that I needed to appreciate and know about it, so that when those things would happen, when I would get a warning, or I would see something, or hear something, or smell something, or, I would get a thought that told me, I'm, getting someone else's thoughts and so on, or feeling someone else's feelings. It allowed me to grow into it and evolve. And have I faced people who doubted me? Of course, I have. In fact, the one person that doubted me when I met them was my husband. He didn't believe in psychics. He believed in ghosts. Psychics? No, he didn't. He didn't believe in any kind of psychics at all. And that was a hard road for me to go down with him, because I wasn't sure at the time if I even wanted to. Because after so many years of me doubting my abilities, doubting myself, running away from it, ignoring it, did I really want to be involved with someone who didn't believe in me? Who didn't believe in my abilities and my capabilities in that regard, And I had to sit with that for a while. I had to be strong. I had to be the strength card in this. What can I do? Can I go through this? Can I walk this path with him? Can I handle this? Is he going to be able to handle it? Is this going to be the thing that breaks us apart? Even though we're crazy in love with each other, when we met. But would this be the thing that severs us? And I didn't know that. And I didn't want that to happen. But I had to make that decision that it was worth a shot. And I had to understand that back then I couldn't be as open to him about my abilities. I mean, yeah, I shared a little bit with him, but not a whole lot. The only thing I told him at that point was I was clairvoyant and clairaudient. I didn't go into any details about any of the other ones yet. And, like, I would tell him about how I'm able to see spirit orbs, and the rare occasion I might see a full body apparition of a deceased spirit, human spirit or someone. But other than that, I didn't really get into it with him. And that made it hard. I did face it, but he eventually came around, and it took, me having to argue with him. We had a big disagreement one night. And, I guess what I said to him made him open his eyes and think back to all the times that I told him something that I ended up being right about. And he said that he could not foresee anyone who is guessing, who's just going to roll the dice and take a guess, being right as many times as I was right. And unless I'm psychic, that there had to be something more to it. So I have walked that path, and were there others around who doubted me too? Yeah. But did I allow them to stop me? No, I didn't, because from my perspective is I didn't need them to validate me. I didn't need them to believe in me. I know who and what I am. And it wasn't going to be up to them to decide my life, decide my purpose, define me and who I am and what my abilities are that, to me, were given to me by God. And some may not, agree with that. Some, are going to have, their own take on it. Some will even say you're crazy. Let them. Let them. I don't care. You want to call me crazy? Go knock yourself out. It's not going to, keep me from being me. And it's surely not going to stop me from going down this path. This path that keeps, being shown to me that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to go. And to know things that I know before they happen. Now, you explain that one to me. As I like to say, or how is it that I know when someone, is thinking about me or having some kind of thought that I know they're having without them even telling me they're having that thought or being anywhere around me. But yet I know, so there's so many other examples I can give, but that's just a couple of them that, kind of throws people for a loop. And yeah, I get it. I do. So if you're facing that, beautiful people, you know what? Let them think and believe whatever they want to think and believe. Only you got to validate you. Don't look to others to validate you. You validate yourself. And you show them who you are. Okay? And it's up to them to believe it or not. That's if you want to hand them that power to decide it for you. And I choose not to. I'm not going to give dominion over to others over me to decide, what I'm supposed to do with my life, and so on, or who and what I am. So I hope that you won't allow that to happen either. And so that's what I want to share with y'all today, though. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it's been insightful for y'all. I hope that there is something in this reading I just did that you can walk away with that resonates with you. And I hope there's something in the story I shared that maybe, will give you that extra nudge, encouragement to keep going forward, to keep fighting, even though I know it's hard. Trust me, I do. I have been there too many times throughout my life. And I haven't had a very long life. Yeah, I'm 43, but 43 is, that's not a long life. So I wish you all well. And know that I'm cheering y'all on. And I'm wishing you nothing but the best in this life for you and for your loved ones. And I'm sending you nothing but many blessings, much love, much happiness, all the joy, good health, prosperity, all the great things in this life we all are deserving of. And that includes you, beautiful. And don't forget that. Until next time, be good or be good at it.